The room wasn't quiet because she started talking. It was quiet because she asked for silence. Literally held up one hand and said, "Can I have everyone's attention, please?" Like she was hosting an awards show and not about to detonate my entire life in front of our friends, her coworkers, and my boss's wife who still had cake on her fork. She waited for the clinking to stop. She stood there, in heels she swore were just for fun, gripping the mic like it was the only thing keeping her grounded. Her eyes sparkled, not from emotion, but from the sheer thrill of the spotlight. The moment she opened her mouth, I knew this party wasn't about me. And I knew I should have never let them blindfold me. I had walked in 30 minutes earlier, already suspicious. People were too rehearsed. The banner didn't say happy birthday. It just said here's to you, in vague, dangerous cursive. The kind of message that could mean anything, a toast, a goodbye, or a warning. But I played along, because I always play along. Then she said it, into the mic. Loud, proud, precise. I know most of you are here for Darren, but I want to be honest tonight. This isn't a celebration. It's a confession. Nobody moved. She didn't pause. She had it memorized. Like a script. Like she'd practiced this in the mirror while I was at work. "I'm not proud of what I've done," she said. "But I won't keep lying. I owe it to myself." And to him. I was still smiling. That stupid frozen smile you wear when you don't understand yet that you're the punchline. She turned toward me. "Darren, I've been in love with someone else. For almost a year." My stomach dropped through the floor. Someone gasped. But not enough people. That's the part that'll haunt me. Then she said the name. His name. I heard chairs shift. I swear I heard someone mutter, "Finally." I even saw someone nod. She said she didn't want to keep living in the shadows. That I deserved to know. That I was kind and stable and safe. And then she thanked me. She thanked me for making this easy. I remember my hand tightening around the glass I was holding, not from anger, but to stop it from shaking. She wasn't crying. She wasn't apologizing. She was unburdening. And the guy? Yeah, he was at the party, eating shrimp skewers near the bar. He raised his glass like we were toasting. I walked out before I could see how it ended. Before she said the part about moving out. Before the applause. Because I knew, somehow, they would clap. They always clapped for her. I didn't slam the door when I left. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just walked out into the cold parking lot like I was heading to my car, except I didn't have my keys. Or my jacket. Or any plan beyond not being in that room anymore. The air outside hit different. Not like relief, more like impact. Like walking out of a burning building only to realize the fire's still clinging to your clothes. I could hear the party still going on behind me through the glass. Faint music. Polite clapping. Someone laughing a little too loud. It was surreal. Like the whole thing was scripted by people who forgot I was a real person. I sat down on the curb behind a catering van. My hands were trembling, but not from the cold. I didn't feel the cold. My brain was too busy replaying her words in stereo. This isn't a celebration. It's a confession. And then, I owe it to myself. I kept hearing that one over and over. What did I owe to myself, huh? I gave her 13 years of loyalty. I ironed her blouses when she was late. I rewired the garbage disposal she broke with her spoon collection. I sat through dinner with her father every damn Thursday, even though he only ever asked me about car warranties. And still, she owed herself more. I know I'm rambling. That's what I do when I'm spiraling. I turn into my own echo chamber. It's like my brain won't shut up unless I narrate every stupid moment like I'm writing a memoir no one asked for. But out there, in the shadows behind the venue, I wasn't ready for what happened next. Because someone came looking for me. At first, I thought it might be her. Some desperate chase scene, maybe. The kind you see in movies where the person shouts your name and begs forgiveness. But no, it wasn't her. It was Rebecca, her sister. Rebecca wasn't like Imelda. She was quieter, kind of awkward, wore oversized glasses like she didn't care what anyone thought. Or maybe she cared too much. We'd never been close, but she always gave me birthday cards and remembered I hated olives. She found me sitting there, hunched, trying not to let my face break in half. "She didn't expect you to leave," she said softly, like her voice was trying not to wake something ugly. I didn't say anything. "She thought you'd just take it. Take it. Like a pill. Like medicine. Like betrayal was something prescribed." Rebecca sat down next to me without asking. She had a jacket on, a thin one, but still better than nothing. She didn't offer it. "I didn't ask?" "She practiced that speech," she said. "All week. with a mirror and everything. Thought it would be cleaner if it came out polished. Polished. My humiliation polished. I let out a noise. I don't know what kind. Somewhere between a laugh and a groan. She looked at me sideways. You deserve to be angry, Darren. I didn't feel angry. I felt erased. And then she said something that knocked the last breath out of me. She told people you might cry, but that it would pass. Like I was a toddler. Like my feelings were a weather report. That was when I stood up. Slowly. Every part of me felt bruised. I wasn't going back inside. Not for my keys. Not for answers. Not even for closure. But something was forming inside me, low and heavy, like thunder behind the horizon. I didn't know what I was going to do next, not exactly. But I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't let this end quietly. She turned my life into a speech. I wasn't going to clap along. I stood in that empty parking lot with my phone in my hand for 15 full minutes before I dared open the group chat. Yeah, that chat. The one Imelda made a few days earlier, titled Darren's Night to Shine Party Popper, filled with her friends, some of mine. A few mutuals who barely spoke to me in person but had no issue spamming gifs and emojis leading up to what I now knew was my own public execution. There were pictures already. Smiling faces. Me with the blindfold on. One woman captioned, OMG, he has no idea, loudly crying face skull. Another with her raising the mic, Imelda dropping bombs, LOL. Someone even had the gall to write iconic. No one asked where I was. Not even her. I stared at that phone until my fingers stopped shaking, then typed one sentence. I didn't rehearse it. I didn't overthink it. For once, I let the weight of everything collapse into the most controlled words I could summon. If you need me, I'll be at the place she used to call boring. And I sent it. No punctuation. No explanation. Just that. I knew exactly where I was going. And deep down, I knew exactly what I wanted them to think about it. It was the one cafe in town that Imelda loathed. Said it was soulless and had the ambience of a dentist waiting room. But they made solid black coffee, played sad indie music no one danced to, and didn't ask questions if you stared out the window for 2 hours. Perfect. I walked the 2 blocks in silence, every footstep an echo of something I didn't want to feel yet. My reflection in the shop windows was hollow. A man-shaped outline without context. No jacket. No expression. No destination worth celebrating. When I walked into that cafe, the barista looked up from her phone, gave me a nod, and asked if I wanted the usual. Which was hilarious because I'd only been there twice in the last year. But I said yes, because it felt good for someone, anyone, to act like I still had a place to be. I picked the booth by the back, the one near the always broken outlet, and just sat there, phone face down, until my drink arrived. I didn't touch it for 20 minutes. But that silence? That awful, sterile silence? It didn't last long. Because my phone buzzed. Once. Then again. Then it didn't stop. I flipped it over and felt the weight of panic settle in. At first it was friends, confused, fake concerned, asking where I went and, what did you think of the surprise? As if betrayal was just another party game. Then came her coworkers, pretending to care, but really just trying to manage the optics. Maybe we misunderstood, one wrote. She just wanted to be brave. Then came Imelda herself. Imelda, we need to talk. Imelda, please don't do something dramatic. Imelda, I didn't mean for you to leave like that. That last one. Like she expected me to stay. Smile through it. Maybe offer her a drink refill after she thanked me for my emotional labor. But the message that really crushed me wasn't from her. It was from Greg, my boss, who was at the party. Greg, sorry you had to hear it like that, man. But at least it's out now. People respect honesty. Respect. Honesty. Like what I'd been living through up until that point was a phase of convenient delusion, and I should now thank her for liberating me. The betrayal was one thing, but the way people reacted, that was worse. Like I wasn't the one who was cheated on. Like I was the inconvenience. I didn't reply to any of them. Not yet. Instead, I pulled up an old, forgotten folder on my phone. One I hadn't looked at since last year. Vaki, just us. Pictures of Imelda and me in Asheville. Smiling. Holding hands. Her making a goofy face with pancakes on her fork. Me looking exhausted but content. We looked like a team. Not perfect, but something. And then I noticed something. A man in the background of 3 separate photos. Same guy. Same shirt. Standing near us at the farmer's market. Again behind us at the overlook. And once more, blurry, near the cafe. I zoomed in. He wasn't just in the background. He was watching her. And she wasn't not looking back. I stared at the man in those vacation photos for a long time. It was the same guy, I was absolutely sure of it. Same dark button-up shirt, same narrow shoulders, same crooked stance like he'd leaned slightly on one side while standing still. At first, I told myself it was a coincidence. A tourist who just happened to wander into our frame 3 times across a weekend. But I kept zooming in, and the further I looked, the harder it was to believe he was just passing by. Especially in the last photo, the one where Imelda was laughing mid-step, and he was right behind her, just slightly out of focus, looking straight ahead. His eyes weren't on me. They were on her. Always her. And suddenly, I remembered something stupid and small. A moment from that trip that didn't feel important at the time. We were waiting in line for a cinnamon roll place. She was texting someone, smiling at her screen. When I asked what was so funny, she said, "Just a dumb meme Rebecca sent me." But Rebecca doesn't send memes. Rebecca hates phones. She still uses a flip model with a cracked screen and a physical keyboard. So who was she actually texting? I closed the photo app and opened her contact on my phone. The typing bar blinked, but I had no idea what I wanted to say. Who is he? Sounded too direct. I saw him in the photos, felt like I was building a case, and I didn't want to be the guy who still begged for honesty after everything that already happened. Instead, I backed out and opened my browser. I looked up the venue we'd been at, hoping they had a public calendar or guest list. Anything that might help me piece together who he was. I found their social page. And there he was again, in a tagged photo. His name was Jace. No last name. Just Jace from Forwell. He was listed as a local poet/musician who sometimes performed at the venue on open mic nights. One of the comments under the post said, "Amazing chemistry between Jace and Imelda tonight," and was dated 6 weeks ago. 6 weeks. Not a year. Not a gradual drift. 6 weeks ago, she was on that stage confessing a months-long affair while her lover smiled in the crowd. But this meant she hadn't just betrayed me, she'd lied about the duration too. She hadn't made a mistake. She'd made a strategy, a performance, a scene, and everyone clapped. I didn't even realize I had started typing again until I looked down and saw the message already composed on my screen. I read it over once. Then again, "Your 6-month thing wasn't even real. He wasn't there in Asheville. But he was at your open mic, wasn't he? And you timed this whole confession like a play. That's what it was, right? A finale." I didn't send it. I deleted the whole thing and turned off my phone. I couldn't go back to the apartment. It didn't feel like mine anymore. I couldn't call my friends, because the few I had were all in that damn group chat, either cheering her on or staying silent. And silence, at that point, felt just as much like a choice. So I went back to my car. I had left the keys inside the venue, but thankfully I kept a spare in one of those little magnetic boxes under the rear bumper, something she always called paranoid old man stuff. I popped it open, unlocked the car, and sat inside without starting the engine. I didn't cry. I didn't even blink for a while. But I did remember something else. A voicemail. From 3 nights ago. I'd ignored it at the time because it came during dinner, and she was sitting right there smiling, talking about reorganizing the guest room. But now that I thought about it, that night she suddenly changed her mind about painting it. I found the message and pressed play. A woman's voice. Nervous. Breathless. "Hey Darren. I know this is weird, but I couldn't keep it quiet anymore. I think you should know what's going on. Imelda's not who you think she is. Just come to the Candlelight Lounge on Friday night. Around 7. And stay by the bar. Don't make a scene. Just watch. You'll understand everything." It ended there. I looked at the timestamp. It was the same night as the surprise party. Someone tried to warn me. Someone knew. And Imelda made sure I never saw it in time. The message kept playing in my head on a loop. Every breath and pause lodged like glass in my ears. Her voice wasn't familiar, or at least not immediately. But there was something about the way she said, "You'll understand everything," that stuck with me. Like she had seen more than she was supposed to. Like she wasn't just guessing. She knew. The name of the bar she mentioned, Candlelight Lounge, was a place I hadn't stepped foot in since college. It used to be a jazz bar before it got remodeled into one of those dimly lit, underground venues for spoken word, cocktails with foam on top, and obscure indie sets. The kind of place Imelda said was too try-hard for her taste. Apparently, she'd been trying hard enough lately. I didn't sleep that night. I stayed parked on the side of an abandoned outlet store with the heater running and the seat reclined just enough to make it uncomfortable. At some point, I must have dozed off, because I woke up around 6:30 the next morning with the taste of metal in my mouth and the word "watch" still bouncing around my skull. I drove home. When I stepped into the apartment, it didn't even smell like her anymore. She had cleared out half the closet. Her side of the bathroom counter was wiped clean. The medicine cabinet, empty. She didn't even leave her bobby pins behind, and those things used to haunt every corner of the place like confetti after a parade. But she did leave one thing, either out of cruelty or carelessness. A folded receipt. Candlelight Lounge. 2 cocktails. 1 week ago. Signed with a loopy heart next to her name. I sat down on the edge of the bed and stared at the piece of paper. It felt like evidence. Not just of betrayal, but of intention. She hadn't just stumbled into this. She'd carved it out, rehearsed it, chosen every word, every beat. This whole thing, the speech, the public revelation, the reactions, was constructed. And someone tried to warn me before it happened. I knew I couldn't let that go. So that night, I went to the Candlelight Lounge. The place hadn't changed much. Still dark. Still cold. Still pretending to be something it wasn't. I walked in and instantly felt out of place. Half the people were in mock vintage outfits and looked like they wrote poetry on mirrors. I ordered a water and sat at the bar, facing the stage, just like the voice had instructed. I didn't know what I was looking for. Not until she sat beside me. I figured you'd come, she said, not looking at me. It took me a second to register her face. Then it hit me. She worked at the venue. The one where the party had been. She was the one running sound check. Headphones, clipboard, tight ponytail, neutral face. I remembered her because she was one of the few people who wasn't smiling when Imelda made that speech. She looked uncomfortable, like she'd seen it coming and hated being part of it. I'm Elise, she said. I didn't speak, just stared. She continued, voice low. She paid extra to have everything filmed. Hired a separate guy, not just for memories. She wanted a record, proof that she was the one who handled it gracefully. Her words. Said it would be good for her personal blog. I blinked. Blog? Elise nodded. She's been writing anonymously for months. A column about emotional awakenings after marriage. She never used her name, but she painted you like a beige wall. Safe. Flat. Background noise. I felt sick. Not angry, sick. I'd been turned into a literary device for someone's reinvention arc. She said she wanted the speech to go viral, that it would resonate with women who feel caged. I didn't want to be part of it. That's why I called. You knew she wouldn't let me hear it. She made us take everyone's phones at the entrance, Elise said, finally turning to look at me. Except his. The other guy. Jace. He had his out the whole time. She wanted him to record her. Like it was a performance for him, not you. I stared at my reflection in the bar mirror, pale, sunken, unrecognizable. Elise hesitated before continuing. There's one more thing. She reached into her coat pocket and slid a small flash drive across the counter. It's the raw audio from her mic. The one I recorded separately. It's got everything, including the conversation she had backstage before going on. She didn't know it was still live. I didn't touch it. I thought you'd want to hear who she really is when no one's clapping. And then she got up and left. Just like that. I sat there for almost an hour, staring at the drive. I didn't even notice the bartender ask if I was okay. I was somewhere else. A different version of myself. One I didn't know how to bring back. I took the flash drive home and plugged it in. And the first voice I heard wasn't Imelda's. It was Jace's. Laughing. Saying, you sure he's not going to do something stupid? Some guys snap when you humiliate them. And her reply? Oh please. Darren? He's soft. He'll write a sad blog post and disappear for a week. He'll come around. Or he won't. Either way, it's cleaner this way. The room was too quiet. No traffic outside, no pipes humming, not even the hum of the fridge. Just me, a laptop screen dimmed to gray, and the blinking blue LED on the flash drive reminding me that I still hadn't hit play again. My heart felt heavy in my chest, like it had been packed with wet cement and was slowly hardening. I hovered over the audio file for what felt like hours. The file was labeled simply, greenroomraw.wave. There was a strange clicking sound at the beginning, maybe someone tapping the mic or adjusting their jewelry. Then came the voice I thought I knew better than anyone's, calm, confident, just a little smug. Imelda. You'll do great, Jace said in the background, his tone playful and smug. Stop, she whispered, giggling. This isn't about us. This is about closure. For him. You mean the husband? A pause. No, I mean the version of me that married him, she replied. I'm killing her off tonight. They laughed. My throat tightened. I pressed pause instinctively, like I needed a second to keep from throwing the laptop across the room. But then I hit play again. I mean, I tried, she continued. He was sweet, supportive, just background. You know? Like elevator music. He never got angry, never challenged me, never mattered. Jay snorted. You think he'll cry? I think he'll walk out. Or maybe he'll stand there and nod. Either way, I won't feel guilty. I've been rehearsing this for weeks. I know the pacing. I know where to pause for laughter. There was another voice, a female one, maybe someone on staff, maybe Elise, quietly saying 5 minutes. Then rustling, a zipper, shoes on carpet. Jace again. You sure you want to do this like a TED Talk? And Imelda, completely serious. If I can't leave him with dignity, I can at least leave him with narrative structure. Narrative structure. I had been demoted from husband to theme. I hit stop. I couldn't take another second. My hands were sweating, but I was ice cold. That line, that specific, surgical cruelty, it cut deeper than anything else she'd done. Because it meant she never saw me as a person in that moment. I was her final chapter. A character arc, someone to be punctuated with applause. I closed the laptop and sat in darkness. I didn't cry. That surprised me. But I did feel something new, detachment. A strange numbness spreading across the surface of my mind like frost on glass. I didn't want revenge. I didn't even want to confront her anymore. I wanted to vanish, not to disappear, but to remove myself from her version of the story. Because clearly, I wasn't even part of it anymore. But if she wanted to perform, if she wanted an audience, then maybe I'd give her one. Just not the one she expected. I opened my laptop again. I didn't go to the group chat. I didn't send her a message. Instead, I opened a blank document and started writing. But this time, not for her. Not for sympathy. For clarity. I called it. What she said when she thought I wasn't listening. I didn't dramatize. I didn't scream. I just laid it out. The timeline. The confession. The lies about the duration. The audio. The fact that she hired a camera crew to document her breakup like it was a lifestyle segment. I described the voicemail. The bar. Elise. The man in the vacation photos who wasn't a coincidence. And then I did something that made my hands shake. I attached the raw audio. No editing. No commentary. Just their words. And then I uploaded it. Not to Reddit. Not to a blog. But to the very same community page she used to promote her anonymous, feminine awakening column. The one where she shared curated thoughts about compassionate endings and self-care divorces. The one with her 12,000 followers who thought she was healing and empowering, not scheming and performing. The upload finished. I didn't feel good about it. I didn't feel anything about it. But I knew it wasn't revenge. I wasn't naming names. I didn't post any photos. I just let her own words do the damage. 10 minutes later, the post was flooded. Hundreds of comments. Not angry. Just confused. Hurt. Betrayed by the image they believed in. And then I got a message. Not from Imelda. Not from Jace. But from a stranger. One sentence. I was going to model my divorce after her. I'm so glad I didn't. And that's when I realized I wasn't the only one she manipulated. I wasn't the only one who believed her carefully rehearsed story. She didn't just turn our marriage into a monologue. She built a following off the lie. And now? The audience was walking out. It didn't take long. I thought it might be hours, maybe a full day, before she noticed what I'd done. But no. 37 minutes after I posted the audio and the truth beneath her curated identity, I got the first message. From her. It didn't say why. It didn't say, how could you? It just said, take it down. Now. That was the first sign she was spiraling. Not guilt. Not sorrow. Not regret. Control. That was always the thing Imelda clung to harder than anything. And now that her grip was slipping, she didn't try to earn it back. She tried to tighten her fists. I didn't reply. 5 minutes later came another. This is defamation. You're embarrassing yourself. Please stop. She always did that, dressed up commands like concern. Told me not to make a scene when she was the one dragging me onto a stage and lighting a match under my dignity. But this time, I was quiet. I let the silence speak. The comments on the post were piling up faster than I could read. People weren't attacking her, not directly. But they were dissecting the performance. Picking apart the timing. Comparing the tone of her writing to the voice on the mic, calling out the contradiction between her sisterhood of honesty and the fact that she choreographed a man's humiliation for social currency. It was brutal, but clean. Just facts. Her own words. A few of her loyal followers tried to defend her at first, but even they couldn't spin it. There must be context, one wrote. Someone replied beneath it, the context is the recording. What more do you need? That thread had over 200 replies before noon. Then, the call came. I didn't answer. So she left a voicemail. Her voice sounded tight, like someone trying to sound composed while standing in a fire. Darren, this has gone too far. You're hurting more people than you think. That platform was never meant to deceive anyone. It was a reflection of pain and transformation. And if you're doing this to punish me, I'm asking you, as someone who once loved you, to stop. Once loved. As if love was an expired product she kept forgetting to throw away. Still, I didn't respond. Because something unexpected was happening. People were messaging me. Not strangers this time. Friends. People from our wedding guest list. One guy I hadn't heard from since high school. A woman she went to yoga with. Even her old college roommate. Each one said something different, but the message was the same. They didn't know. They believed what she showed them. The story she sold them. The version of me she curated, soft, boring, unremarkable, was the only version they ever saw. And yet here they were, now seeing the truth. She texted again that night. They dropped me. I knew what she meant before she said it. Her sponsorship deal, the wellness brand that used to promote her posts with inspirational captions and filtered sunrises. Gone. They said I'm no longer in alignment with their message. I lost everything. My income. My audience. My credibility. I'm begging you, delete it. It was almost laughable. Not the desperation, but the irony. She had turned our real lives into performance art, and now she was learning what happens when the curtain falls mid-act. Still, I didn't reply. And then came the photo. No warning. No caption. Just an image. It was her. Sitting on the floor of what looked like a hotel room, still in the clothes from the night before, eyeliner smudged, hair undone. She looked nothing like the woman from the spotlight. Her shoulders were small. Her hands looked like they were bracing for an earthquake. The mask was gone. Finally, I stared at that photo for a long time. Not because I felt satisfaction, but because I felt nothing. And that scared me more than anything. She had once been everything. Now, she was just a voice in a file. A caption I didn't read. A name I didn't want to say out loud. But even then, I knew the story wasn't over. Because hours later, another email arrived. Not from her. From someone else. Someone I didn't expect. Jace. His message was short. You proved your point. But just so you know, she wasn't the only one lying. At first, I wasn't going to open Jace's message. I didn't need more poison. I didn't need his version of events or some last-ditch justification typed out by a man who sat in the audience like it was a show. But curiosity is a strange kind of ache. It creeps in when you least expect it, when your defenses are down and your mind starts whispering what if there's more. So I opened it. You proved your point. But just so you know, she wasn't the only one lying. She told me you were violent. She said you cheated first. That you hit a wall once, broke a frame with your fist. Said you called her names behind closed doors. I believed her. That's why I stayed. I thought I was helping her escape. I read that paragraph at least 5 times, trying to process each sentence as if it were written in a different language. Violent? Me? I couldn't even slam a cabinet door without apologizing to the cabinet. The only time I ever raised my voice was during a thunderstorm 3 years ago when I thought I lost her cat. And now I was seeing how far she'd gone to construct the illusion. How many lies she had stacked on top of each other. How many people she manipulated to justify what she was doing, not just to me, but to herself. There was more in the email. I'm sorry. I genuinely am. I walked into that mess thinking she was broken and needed saving. But I think I was just her prop. Just like you were. I'm done with it. Good luck, man. For real. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. There was nothing left to say. I closed the email and sat back in the chair, the weight of everything finally, truly beginning to lift. I hadn't expected closure. I didn't think I even believed in it anymore. But what I felt in that moment, wasn't rage or even vindication. It was quiet. A quiet I hadn't felt in years. The next morning, I did something small but significant. I cleared out the apartment. Not angrily. Not like I was erasing her. Just reclaiming space. I boxed up the framed pictures she left behind, the hand-me-down blankets from her aunt, the coffee mugs with quotes about manifesting peace. I didn't throw them away. I donated them to a second-hand shop across town, a symbolic gesture, maybe, but it felt right. Like letting go of a version of myself that had long overstayed his welcome. And then I did something else. I bought a ticket. Just one. One way. I didn't go far, just a few states over, to a small coastal town where the air smells like salt, and there's a bookstore that serves cinnamon tea. I'd seen it once on a weekend trip before we were married, and I remembered how I'd said I could live here, and how she had laughed like I'd told a joke. But it wasn't a joke to me. Not then. Not now. I moved into a modest rental above the bookstore. The landlord is a quiet woman named Sharon who bakes cookies every Friday and doesn't ask a lot of questions. My neighbors are retirees who garden and argue about crossword clues. And me? I read. I write. I walk along the shore with my hands in my pockets and my head a little higher. Some days I still feel the sting. Some days the ghost of that microphone lingers in the back of my memory, her voice echoing words that were never meant for healing. But they don't control me anymore. Because I know now, her performance didn't define me. Her version of me wasn't the whole story. I'm writing that story now. Not out of revenge, but because I finally can. Last week, I got an email from Elise, the woman who warned me. She asked how I was doing. Said she'd left the venue job and started her own podcast. Said she's been telling stories that don't involve applause, just truth. We've exchanged a few notes since then. Nothing big, but it feels real, quiet, comfortable. Like maybe, just maybe, something honest is beginning. And for the first time in a long time, I don't feel like a footnote in someone else's narrative. I feel like the author of my own.